with Lori Wosar, another fabulous author. This is part of the Women's Rights Publishing and Author Services interview series. And I'm Ted Huntington. And Lori Wosar, I'm already tripping over my tongue. Lori Wosar writes Western fantasy. She hails from Olympia, Washington, currently residing in Las Vegas and working in the gaming industry. Lori has written the Western trilogy Kit Weston Chronicles, the Capot adventure series, and she has a new time travel adventure, Relic. She's the author of, from what I counted, 13 books. I could be off. I'm sure Lori will correct me. And writing is her obsession. She spends all of her free time writing stories with a paranormal flair. Welcome, Lori Wosar.
Thank you. Yeah, just don't tell my boss.
I won't tell your boss. And also, anyone that's watching this video, please feel free to subscribe to our Patreon page. That enables us to continue to produce these wonderful interviews, and also it helps to support women's rights. So let's launch into This Is Your Life, Lori Wosar. Let's talk about your books, how you got to where you are now with your author career.
Well, let's see. I've actually been writing since I was a kid, always writing, always having ideas. But I had been working on this one book that I call The Hot Mess with with a former friend. We had been working on it for about 20 years. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and publish this book. I didn't get it edited. It wasn't formatted. There was no alpha readers because I had no idea about that. I just published it. And then we get the paperback and it was a mess. It was a mess. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and try this again with Crooked Halo and the Badge, which is now just Crooked Halo, my first Western. And right now, honestly, my only Western series. I basically, my first book I ever wrote was a historical romance, which to me was boring. And then I decided to do Westerns, and then I decided, okay, the second Western book, I'm like, I really love this character. I'm going to bring him back to life. And that's when I found my love of PNR. So I mostly write PNR.
PNR meaning?
PNR is paranormal romance. Relic is one I decided I'm going to go ahead and go a completely different. Yeah, it's still PNR. There's sorcerers and whatnot in it, but it was a time travel. And that was actually, it was kind of a challenge to write, but it was a lot of fun. But my newest ones is actually my first vampire book. So I had released Jaded Vamp, pardon me, in January, and then Wild Vamp just went live yesterday.
Wow, so you've got multiple genres going right now.
Yes. I try to keep it fresh a little bit, but Jaded Vamp was actually my first contemporary. I love the historical, but it was my actual first contemporary. It's loaded with a lot of profanity, sex, and violence.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So do you have a publisher? Do you self-publish?
I self-publish. So that's got its own challenges there.
It does. Well, you hear pros and cons from both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say are the pros and the cons of the self-publishing world?
Well, the pros is, there's so many services. I'm addicted to covers, thanks to Trish Ellis and Mickey Noble and Susan Cat, just three of the amazing cover artists I use. And then I have a couple of really, I have a phenomenal developmental editor. And then I use, Inked Imagination for my formatting. So that's the easy part. Writing the book, getting it, making it look pretty and everything is the easy part. Getting myself out there and marketing has been a challenge. But it's like, I'm still learning. I mean, I've been in this business for 2 years now and I'm still learning.
And you have 13 books or so. Did I get that right?
I'm trying to do the math. Now, the unfortunate thing is I had actually pulled the Capot series. They just weren't doing good as sales. Plus the story just I wasn't happy with it. So it's being redone. It's gonna be revamped next year. But I actually wrote, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I think I've actually written probably about 10 or 11, but revamped about 3 of those, 3 or 4 of those.
That's fairly prolific for a 2-year span.
Yeah, because I'm addicted to writing.
And you have a full-time job on top of all
Yes.
that. How do
Yes.
you balance all that?
It's difficult. Like I said, I had the kind of job to where it gives me that free time to be able to write. It's not like one of those that boom, 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 something's happening days vary, but it's very seldom that I get super busy at work. But yeah, I have a lot of time in my hands. I just make it a point at night. I don't write. My laptop, everything is turned off. That's when I chill. I'm lazy and I binge watch whatever, probably the same show I've seen 100 times. But that's how I relax. I think I have a love for writing, and it's just like I can't just stop. It's difficult. Oh, and then I did forget. Yes, I do have about 13 because I forgot about my short stories. And then I was part of an anthology that just went live on Friday, the No Way Out anthology with Eileen Fremmel. So
Well, yeah, that's great.
So I'm busy person.
Yes. So what would you say is the best part of your book world and the most challenging part of your book world as well?
I would say the best part has to be a lot of the community, a lot of the friends I've made, different authors that have the same thing in common as me. We're addicted to writing. We love to write, but then a lot of us have that same issue with marketing our books and really getting our books out there. So that's one thing I love. And then the challenge as well is definitely the community.
What would you say, as far as marketing, what has worked the best for you so far?
When I have any hit books, I'll let you know. But yeah. I would say honestly, one thing they really encourage is to do a lot of takeovers, be a part of a lot of the release parties, be a part of the community, really reach out to the readers and be personable with them. I'm doing the best I can. I just feel like, okay, I don't really have the most exciting life to really sell myself. Plus my daughter's like, don't be sharing, pictures of my daughters on Facebook. I'm like, oh, they're part of my life. But yeah, I would say what has really worked for me is one of my friends had, given me like a list of sites, and I actually will use those. So I kind of go outside of even Facebook. So it's like if you can really get Facebook and you get, if you belong to different sites like Facebook, Goodreads, BookBub, anything that's going to get your books out to the readers, take advantage of it. Whatever advice you're given, so long as it's good advice, take it. Because there's bad advice out there too. But definitely take the advice. If somebody's willing to help you with really pushing you out there and getting you seen, take that advice.
So that's I guess the bottom line, it's networking is what you're saying, is really develop that network. I don't know how you have time, if you're cranking out that much content, how you have time to do marketing. And that in itself is a very challenging balancing act for virtually all writers, except for the most highly successful ones,
right,
where their name sells themselves. But every writer has to market themselves. So how do you spend enough time marketing yourself and creating more content?
I'm a good multitasker. That's all I could say. I'm just really good at multitasking, I guess. A little bit at a time. It's like, you don't want to shove your books down people's throats either. So it's like, I do a little bit on Instagram, and I will put it out there and just let them know that, hey, this book's for pre-order. Hey, this book has just went live, the audiobooks have gone live as well. And I do the audiobooks. And that's another thing. I'm, not only am I marketing ebooks, I'm marketing audiobooks as well. My audiobooks have proven to be successful. So that's one thing I can really attest to. I have like who I call my go-to narrator, and it's like I'm getting to the point to where I can put his name on my books and the audiobooks are going to sell. He's phenomenal. His name's Aaron Smith. So, just nice, deep British voice that, anybody wants to listen to when they're listening to audiobooks.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I've done some audiobooks. It's a challenge. It's time consuming. It's a lot of work to develop
Yeah.
those audiobooks. Yeah, and to find somebody with that voice that, yeah, it's great to have the author read the audiobooks, but not every author is comfortable doing that production.
If I had the equipment, I probably would. I mean, I had a few people say, "Oh my God, you totally have the voice for it." I'm like, well, at least I have the voice, not so much the face, but it's all good. I rushed through reading the books and I'm like, I really don't think, and I'm really terrible at accents. I'm like, I don't know how, Aaron and even Matthew Lentz, who narrated Relic, I'm the type of person, yeah, I'm an American, but my characters are usually British, and there's some German in there, and there's Latina in there. So it's like I've always given my narrators the challenge of doing a voice, doing an accent. And Matthew, who did Relic, is from Chicago, but he nailed the British accents. He had to speak the German. He nailed that. And he nailed the Brazilian villain in the book. So it's like you do get lucky and you find these narrators that have that much talent that can do that. And it blows my mind.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't.
So talk more about what projects you have in the works.
Well, I do have one. I know I just released Wild Vamp, but I do have Patriot games that will be released June 1st. It's the 4th of July holiday, but I'm impatient and decided to release it a month early. And I'll, instead of the 4th of July holiday, which will probably be virtually ignored. And that was mostly for marketing purposes. But that's my first contemporary action adventure that has absolutely no paranormal or witches or warlocks or anything in it. So it's basically my take on Hunger Games meets Mercenaries.
Wow, that's interesting.
So that was a fun book to write. So I'm excited about that one. And then in August, I will be releasing my first July would be Fierce Vamp, the third book in the Jaded Vamp series. And then August, I will be releasing my first actual young adult paranormal. So
Wow.
called Little 15. And I have a penchant for 80s songs. So it's like, that stem from different 80s albums and songs. So I'm excited about that one.
How do you decide on the genres that you want to write?
What's really funny is the covers speak to me. Now with Crooked Halo, though, I think the one I finally settled for, Susan Cat did those beautiful covers for Crooked Halo, White Angel, and Frayed Wings. And that was about the 4th or 5th different cover for that book. But a lot of the times now, the covers speak to me. And it's just really interesting that here, I could just look at a cover and I have a story for it already. Now with Jaded Vamp, it was originally this girl, sitting there in a chair, flipping the camera off, both fingers. And the book was originally titled IDGAF, which is not I don't give a F. And so it was at first going to be a little Orphan Annie take. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to do vampires. And then it just kind of stuck. And then when my developmental editor was reading the book, she encouraged Tris to change the cover. And she said, I have these 2 models that are perfect for, that really fit Dominic and Casey. So that cover changed. And that kind of stuck. But the covers actually speak to me, like Little 15, Patriot Games, and then new one I'll be writing next year called Raising Cain. Those covers just spoke to me, and I had a story for them.
Wow, that's interesting. I know a cover designer who will just design a cover and then go out there and try and find an author who wants to use that cover. So they just do spec covers.
Yeah,
So,
and that's how it was with Mickey and Tris. Like when Tris originally did the IGGAF, that spoke to me, and then the Raising Cain and Patriot Games that were done by Mickey just absolutely spoke to me. So these were pre-made covers that these ladies had made.
wow, yeah, that's kind of an interesting nuance to the
Yeah,
whole book cover world, because just graphic design, somebody that can be a phenomenal graphic designer and artist, but not really know the nuances of book sales and how the cover really relates to selling a book. In my opinion, it's like it's akin to a wine bottle, and how the design on a wine bottle sells that wine.
Although I was told, especially with the Capot series, that my covers were the reason why the books weren't selling.
Hmm.
I'm like, no, the first book just wasn't that good. That's why they weren't selling.
Well, that
I'm
helps.
gonna take blame for that. Don't give it to the cover artist.
That
She
helps.
only did what I asked her to do.
So, since this is sponsored by Women's Rights, do you have any specific pointers for female writers, especially newer writers trying to kind of break into the world?
With me, I had to really be patient and not push myself on people, especially I don't know if it's more difficult for a female or male. It's really hard to say in the author world because, like we were discussing earlier, a lot of us use initials. And as I told you, people didn't know that I was a female at first. But I think even breaking into it is just as difficult for a man as it is a woman. So it's not just a woman thing that we can't get our books read because we're women. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it's just it's personalities and how you click with people.
Mm-hmm. That's good advice. Yeah, that
Mhm.
women should not be shy about getting into this industry whatsoever.
No,
If you have a
no.
story to tell, get out there and write. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. And I would never discourage if you have dreams, you have stories to tell. I would never discourage somebody from not doing that. It's like if I can do it after years and years and years of writing, if I could finally get the courage to publish a book and I know it was bad, they're going to do it. I mean, I'm not like Stephen King or James Patterson. I mean, I would like to get to their level one of these days. That probably won't happen until, posthumous when I'm dead, but you never know. But the one valuable thing that my youngest son had taught me is, Mom, you got to be patient. He's like, it's going to happen for you. And so long as you have a really good support system with not just the community, but your family as well, if your family's not supporting you, it kind of bites. But I have a family that's very supportive. They may not read my books because it's not their thing, but they encourage it. In fact, I mean, my husband will joke around, sometimes going, how many words did you write today? I'm like, I don't know, a lot. but but yeah, just don't ever get discouraged. Don't listen to anything negative. Don't pay attention to the drama on Facebook because, oh my God, Lord knows the drama is crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Drama and scams, got to look out for that.
Mm-hmm.
I had somebody that said she was going to help set up a a meeting with a movie studio for a screenplay that I had written, and she just wanted a broker fee to set up this meeting, but she wanted the fee before the meeting even took place.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
not good.
I'm not paying you any money before I get some sort of meeting with a legitimate movie studio exec.
Not only
So
that, the contract. You want to see the contract.
right, right. So yeah, there's a lot of scams out there, and it's really kind of disgusting that it's so prevalent, but especially with social media, you don't know who's out there.
And one word of advice I have for new authors, I knew better. I mean, I was even told, don't ever pay for reviews. That's a scam. And it's like the same guy that I've told no already on Instagram twice has already messaged me. I said, dude, I already told you I'm not paying for reviews. You need to stop messaging me, please.
Yeah.
So,
Well, even if you pay for reviews, there's no guarantee you're going to get a good review.
right. But to me, it's bribery. It's like give them a cookie and you get a good review.
Right. And Amazon doesn't like paid
Oh, no.
reviews.
No.
Right. So any parting words of wisdom, anything else you want to add?
Hmm. Basically the only thing I have to add is in this business, just be patient, be yourself. That's all you can be. Don't act like somebody you're not. Be yourself. Your work will speak for itself and always follow your dreams.
Excellent.
I'm
Great
still
words of
following
advice.
mine.
Great words of advice. Thank you, Lori Wosar. Appreciate it. We're going to put links to all your work underneath the video, and everyone please check out our Patreon page and help support us. Thank you very much, Lori.
Thank you, Ted.
All right, take
Okay,
care.
bye.
Bye.